Palestine. We are here with our family in the Lit, in the Ramla, Haifa, Aqsa, Jerusalem, Silwan, the Ramla, Sheikh Jarrah, Al-Nasra, Gaza, Ramallah, Kalandia, Jenin, Nablus, the Khalil, Beit Lahem, Deir Hana, and the numerous other Palestinian towns that have taken to the streets. And we are here with our people in Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon who are breaking down borders. We echo their calls for liberation here in the belly of the beast. As youth, as college students, where Israel and the Israeli lobby have seen our campuses as a center to fight the rising tide of Palestine solidarity and anti-Zionist student activism, we must fight. Money from Zionist organizations poured directly into our college administrations and Zionist student organizations to fight the work of GUPs, of BFP, and SJPs. Our work, our events, our campaigns are a direct threat to the lie that Zionists have constructed that the state of Israel has a right to exist on stolen land, has a right to exist at the expense of Palestinian lives, dignity, and liberation. People have a right to exist. Palestinians have the right to exist. As students, we have the opportunity in the belly of the beast to shift public perception of what's going on in Palestine and Zionism, to push and organize for change, pass much-needed legislation like BDS, pressure our representatives to support HR 2590, and resist attempts like IRA to silence Palestinians. To the Zionist repression of Palestinian and Arab organizing and student activism here in the U.S., we must organize and we must build power. The world is waking up to what Israel truly is, and we must keep that momentum going. The Nakba lives on. The Nakba never died. For Israel, the Nakba ends when they have Judaized and cleansed Palestinians from the land. For us, the Nakba ends when Palestinian refugees return home, when bombs don't rain over the skies of Gaza anymore, when we see the apartheid wall in pieces, when the borders are not just open but completely gone, when our prisoners are free, and when Palestine is free from the river to the sea. Us Palestinians will not stop fighting until we reach liberation. There is a reason Israel has failed in all their attempts to silence us, divide us, and erase our existence. No matter where we are in the world, no matter how they attempt to attack us, our identity, our struggle for liberation, and the fight for the right of return will never die down. We will never forget about who we are and where we come from. If we don't return within our lifetime, the Palestinian generations after us will keep fighting until we return back home to free Palestine. We will return. Zionism is racism. We must no longer tolerate the anti-Palestinian racist arguments and narratives that dominate the mainstream media, Hollywood, academia, the so-called liberal organizations, our college campuses, Congress, and social media. It is no longer acceptable to be progressive except on Palestine. Palestine is not the exception. My people are not the exception. The struggle for justice is still young, and we will continue to rise up. Long live the Palestinian struggle for justice. Long live the Palestinian resistance.
The world is watching, y'all. Keep the pressure up. Solidarity from Colombia to Palestine. I wrote this poem / rap / spoken word, whatever you want to call it. I want to share with y'all. It's called Why Palestine? When I post about this issue online, at times the response I get is, why Palestine? You're not Palestinian or Arab, so why are you caring? And I don't have time to watch the post that you're sharing for awareness. Well, if you knew how much of this country's budget goes to what is now known as Israel, that's been spent on the military to have men, women, and kids killed, it averages over $4 billion a year. Imagine what that could be used for communities here. So we could begin there to make this relation, to understand the significance of third world liberation. It's somewhat like deja vu watching these colonizers settle. It resembles how gentrification killed Alex Nieto. Not the exact same thing, but in the same vein of tradition, isn't it? Of colonization and what's happening to the Mission District. This is why we see cranes in the sky. You see it in Jerusalem to the 415, or these corny tour guides led by gentrified white guys that try to tell you and convince you that it's all good on this certain side. See, the oppression is real out there, so there's really no comparison. But without America, Israel doesn't exist. So who's the real terrorist? And these Zionists are lying when they try to translate in Arabic. Don't be brainwashed like so many by the negative propaganda and rhetoric. Pushed out their homes where their families been for centuries. Now replaced with condos to erase their legacy. They weaken these communities with family separation, house demolition, and land confiscation. Through impoverishment and underdevelopment makes them more vulnerable to displacement. All in the name of an ideology that's racist. To say the situation is complicated, but really it's basic. It's genocide for those who are unaware of the plan. A land without a people for a people without a land? I'll never understand. But when I was out there, I didn't focus on the hatred, the racism, honestly. Because I was bombarded by the love, fascinated by the olive trees. The families were fighting with their life to protect their properties. That's why it's our duty to go back home and share these atrocities. It's all about organizing in partnership with our actions, in full support of boycott, divest, and sanctions. So think of the millions of lives denied, the villages and indigenous tribes, kidnapped, tortured, where children have died, that once had a home on land that's now occupied, deprived of the resources to simply survive. So next time you see a Zionist, you ask them, why Palestine? Thank you.
My name is Khalid. I'm the grandchild of Nakba survivors. Today, the closest I can get to my homeland is through Google Maps. When I tap through the land surrounding Jaffa, I can't help but feel that something is missing. Where miles of green forest once grew, there are now miles of bare, beige hills dotted with dry grass. Every tree was uprooted or burned down by settlers who wanted to wipe the rich ecosystem of Palestine off the map along with us. Further inland, countless olive trees are missing. These trees carry the history of Palestine. They grow for centuries, giving us life. The oldest olive tree in the world is located right there. It is between 4,000 and 5,000 years old. By the coast, where dozens of homes once stood, there is not a single brick left. My guess is that our home was destroyed and replaced by parking lot B. I may never know. Settlers came in on a sunny May afternoon and demanded we leave with only the clothes on our back, or else they would execute every man and rape every woman. Our food and culture were renamed, redesigned. A new identity was forced upon them. Our story is not unique. Over 530 other towns were massacred, destroyed, or left uninhabitable. Exactly 73 years ago, in this month alone, in 1948, 300,000 people had their lives uprooted. 15,000 people were killed in a series of mass atrocities. I am constantly told that my people are the oppressors, the terrorists, the invaders, that we are thieves. We must never let our stories be told through this light. Malcolm X once said, if you're not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. When not even the history textbooks want to see us here, that means that we need to keep sharing our stories with the world. We're almost 7 million people living in diaspora, but we will return. Until then, we are getting loud every single day. We are coming home.
show support for Palestine. You know, everything that's going on there is very, very sad, and we gotta show everyone what Israel is and how it's a terrorist state.
And what is the United States doing there?
They're sending $4 billion instead of putting in health care like they should. They're putting in terrorist group like Israel and Zionism, and they're killing innocent kids and families.
Free Palestine! If you support Zionism, then you support the Nazis. They have the same belief system as the Nazis. They don't occupy, they use genocide against our people. They kill children. What kind of brave person presses buttons and destroys families?
I'm here to support the struggle of the people of Palestine. I'm sad about the people who have been killed and injured, but I'm very inspired by the struggle. So many people from all sides inside of Israel's border, so 1948 borders, in the West Bank and in Gaza. It's really exciting to see people standing up and fighting.
Solidarity. Both of those populations have been killed just for demanding peace, demanding freedom, demanding their own rights. Both countries has their complicity with the United States, and they're just killing our people.
So the United States is supporting the military, and
it's been doing for decades. The whole story is about it.
What's your name?
Cruz.
Thank you.
Come to support my Palestine brothers and sisters. I feel heartbroken. I stand with them all the way.
God, yeah, it's sort of disappointing that the U.S. is giving money when like Biden is like talking about how we need to be united, and yet they're using their money to do the opposite type of thing. Ava, yeah, it's sort of disappointing that the U.S. is giving money when like Biden is capitalism and colonialism is killing the world. It's killing everyone in the world, and it needs to end.
I want Joe Biden to stop the apartheid and stop funding Israel. That's why I'm here.
I think it's important to be here and to show up, because the media narrative is constantly being muddied and there's op-eds flying in every direction, and at some point people have to get in the street, because that's how we prove how we actually feel.
How is the media not really telling the truth about what's going on?
Well, I don't want to, because I'm not an expert, I don't want to try to talk facts to you. I just see that the narrative is being overcomplicated. In my opinion, there's a genocide that's been going on for decades. I don't think it's as complicated as the media is trying to make it out to be.
My name is Mary Flanagan. I'm a retired teacher. And yeah, the U.S. needs to divest, quit sending money to Israel. I saw a sign that said more money is going toward Israel than they're spending on global warming. I forget the figures, but it's outrageous. It's our responsibility, this country's responsibility, this warmongering.
Why are the unions supporting Israel? Zionism.
The union is part of the Democratic Party, which is...
That's a great answer.
Complicit.
Yes.
Worse, as bad as the Republicans. Just shameful. Shameful. Their investment in international military and nuclear armaments. And the weapons industry has made a fortune. And they drive the Pentagon, and this is disgusting. The people need to stop it. We need to stop it.
Why I'm here, one is because I'm Jewish, and I feel responsibility.
And Afghan?
To stop what Israel is doing, to stop Zionism, period. To, you know, Palestinians. And it's so similar to what the U.S. has done here with Native Americans. I mean, we have to just call it out when it's wrong. Even if you're alone, if you're the only one, you know, you have to call it out. And like the work you do with Julian Assange and with labor and I mean, we just have to scream because we're in the worst, most corrupt nation, most uncivilized, really, nation. If you think of all the guns and all the shootings and all the police killings of any place on earth, and we have the most money. What a horrible combination. And you know, we're standing right now, and also the city of the East Bay, but we're standing in San Francisco. The homelessness, it's just. It's, you know, weeping doesn't help, but sometimes you have to do it anyway. It's not like there isn't money for people to be housed, etc.
Confusing because I'm American, but I'm also Palestinian, and disheartening and just heartbreaking. Things need to be peaceful.
Charles Rackless. I'm here to defend the people of Palestine who are stuck in a struggle against imperialism, which cannot be won as long as the struggle is limited to the national liberation. We need to advance the permanent revolution across all of the Middle East and North Africa to free Palestine, to free the Syrian people, to free all people still living under oppression in the semi-colonies, because imperialism has a way of making a deal with nationalist forces and comprador bourgeoisies to hold back the revolutionary process. And because we have not been able to defeat the Zionist colonial settler state and defeat U.S. imperialism in the Middle East, we have these continuing wars against the people of Palestine. That's why we're here today in San Francisco, to stand against the occupation of Palestine and to support the people of Palestine rising up to fight for their social revolution.
And the role of the Democrats, Biden and Kamala Harris?
We know that Biden, Kamala Harris, the Democrats and the Republicans are in a bipartisan unity against the liberation of people in the semi-colonies. We know the Democrats and Biden and his last comment that defending Israel's right to defend itself, when we know that it's Israel that's bombing Palestine day after day and has killed thousands of people over the years, when Hamas and the liberation forces have killed very few handily Israelis. It's really not a question of the count, it's a question of the oppressor power versus the oppressed people, and the oppressed people have a right to defend themselves. Israel is not the the oppressed people. It is an occupying Zionist project. It's not even a legitimate state. And Biden saying that they have the right to respond is showing the United States capitalist class is 100% behind the destruction of the Palestinian people.